Have you ever noticed that the moment you sit alone, the mind becomes louder than any crowd? It's strange. We say we want peace, yet we run from the silence that could save us. What you fear meeting in solitude is exactly what will set you free. In Buddhism, being alone is not loneliness. It's the doorway to self-love, inner happiness, and learning to truly love yourself. But why is it so hard to love your own company or find joy in quiet moments? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal may change how you see self-love forever. Before we begin, subscribe to Buddha's Eternal Wisdom, where every video is a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist teachings you won't find anywhere else. And at the end of this video, I'll share a powerful bonus lesson most people never hear about. The one truth that makes living a peaceful life finally possible. 1. The silence you fear is the teacher you need. The silence you fear is often the teacher you've spent years running from. And yet, in the year 2026, when distraction is everywhere and noise has become a form of comfort, silence has become the rarest doorway to true self-love. But why does silence feel heavier than any argument, any heartbreak, any crowd? The answer is simple. Silence doesn't hide you, it reveals you. Silence is where the truth rests, waiting for your courage. Think of silence as a still lake. When the waters are disturbed, everything beneath remains hidden. But when the lake becomes calm, when the ripples fade, every stone, every shadow, every forgotten depth becomes visible. This is what happens when you sit alone with yourself. The noise settles, and the truth you've avoided quietly rises to the surface. In Buddhism, this is the moment of awakening. Not dramatic, not loud, but a soft inner unfolding that begins exactly where your fears begin. Modern life convinces you that being alone is a sign of emptiness. But solitude is not emptiness. It is the space where you finally stop abandoning yourself. It is where suppressed emotions surface, unprocessed pain whispers for attention, and forgotten dreams return with their original glow. You fear silence only because it invites honesty, and honesty invites healing. Yet this very discomfort is the doorway to emotional freedom, to clarity, to inner peace. So ask yourself, what part of silence scares me the most? What truth do I avoid meeting in my alone time? What might I finally hear if I allow silence to speak? These questions aren't meant to unsettle you, they're meant to liberate you. Because the mind that cannot sit alone is a mind still waiting to meet itself, and the heart that cannot rest in its own company has not learned how deeply it deserves its own love. In your moments of solitude, try this. Sit quietly, breathe slowly, and imagine that calm lake at dawn. Be patient as the waters settle. Observe the shadows that appear, not as threats, but as messengers. Solitude becomes transformational when you understand that nothing you meet within yourself is your enemy. Everything is simply asking to be acknowledged. As you move forward in this new year, remember, the world will always demand your attention, but your soul will always ask for your presence. Choose presence. Choose inner honesty. Choose the kind of aloneness that strengthens you instead of the kind that scares you, because the deepest form of self-love is this: the bravery to sit with yourself until peace finally recognizes you. 2. Your true self speaks only in empty space. If your inner voice is so wise, why is it drowned out every single day? In the rush of 2026, messages, expectations, comparisons, your deeper self doesn't disappear. It simply gets buried under everything that is not you. And yet, when the world finally quiets down, the soul begins its whispering. This is why time alone becomes the deepest form of self-love. It creates the empty space your true self needs to speak again. Your true self is like a candle, completely invisible in the bright noise of the world, but undeniable when the lights go out. In solitude, the sun of distraction sets. The flame that was always there suddenly stands out, steady, warm, honest. That flame is your clarity, your intuition, your forgotten wisdom. But you can only see it in darkness, in stillness, in the quiet moments when no one is asking you to be anything except real. Picture yourself in a completely dark room, and in the center a single candle flickers. Its light is gentle, not forceful, yet it guides you with a certainty that no external advice ever could. This is what solitude gives you, the rediscovery of your inner flame. A mind constantly surrounded by noise becomes confused, reactive, lost. But a mind that returns to silence becomes aligned, aware, awake. In Buddhism, this is the recognition that your deepest answers don't come from the world. They rise from within, like light returning to a long-forgotten space. Ask yourself, what external noise has drowned my inner voice? When was the last time I listened to myself without interruption? What message might my deeper self be trying to send? These questions open the doorway to self-honesty, and self-honesty opens the doorway to transformation. You may be surprised at how much your inner self has been trying to tell you about your peace, your direction, your boundaries, your healing. Solitude is not about escaping people, it's about returning to yourself. The more time you spend alone in mindful awareness, the clearer your decisions become, the softer your emotions feel, and the stronger your intuition grows. When you give your soul the empty space it needs, it begins to guide you with the gentle precision of that candle in the dark. And so, the next time life feels overwhelming, remember this truth. The answers you're searching for are not far away, they're just quiet. Your job is not to chase them, but to make enough space for them to finally be heard. 3. Where there is no crowd, there is no confusion. Why do you feel more lost around others than when you're alone? It sounds contradictory, but the truth is simple. The more voices surrounding you, the easier it is to forget your own. In a world as fast and loud as 2026, your inner compass doesn't stop working. It just gets pulled in every direction by the magnets of expectations, opinions, and noise. Confusion grows in company. Clarity grows in solitude. When you step away from the crowd, you don't lose anything. You finally stop losing yourself. Imagine your mind as a compass. Every person you meet, every conversation you have, every judgment you fear, acts like a magnet tugging at your needle. Before you know it, your direction shifts so subtly that you don't even realize you've drifted off your path. But solitude resets the compass. It removes the magnets. It gives your mind the stillness it needs to remember its true north. Place your hand gently over your heart for a moment and imagine that compass needle trembling, pulled left, pulled right, pulled off center, until slowly, with each quiet breath, it realigns. That feeling of alignment is what solitude gives you, not escape, not isolation. Alignment. In Buddhist wisdom, this is the moment the mind steps out of illusion and into clarity. When you are alone, you can finally hear the direction you were meant to follow. So ask yourself, who or what pulls my compass away from its true direction? Where does my mind drift when no one is watching? What clarity emerges when the world stops tugging? These questions reveal more than you expect. Often the reason you feel confused around others isn't because you don't know yourself. It's because you temporarily abandon yourself to fit the moment. Solitude restores the version of you that doesn't bend, doesn't shrink, doesn't pretend. When you spend quiet time alone, the fog lifts. The decisions that once felt heavy suddenly become light. The emotions that felt tangled begin to loosen. The goals that seemed distant come back into focus. In solitude, your intuition becomes louder than other people's opinions. Your peace becomes stronger than your fears. Your direction becomes clearer than your doubts. And so, let this truth settle into you gently. You're not confused. You're simply distracted. Step away from the noise long enough, and your inner compass will point the way with quiet certainty. Because where there is no crowd, there is no confusion. Only clarity, only alignment, only you returning home to yourself. 4. Solitude is the training ground for emotional strength. How do monks stay unshaken by anything? The truth is, they aren't born with extraordinary peace. They train for it. Peace is not found. It is trained. And the place where this training begins is solitude. In the stillness of being alone, you're not escaping life. You're preparing for it. You're entering a quiet dojo where your mind and heart learn balance, resilience, and emotional stillness. Think of solitude as that sacred training ground. When you step away from noise, judgment, and constant stimulation, you begin to see your emotions clearly, without distortion, without pressure. In the silence, you can observe your fears without feeding them, your wounds without reopening them, your doubts without drowning in them. This is how emotional strength is built, not through resistance, but through awareness. The storms of life no longer shake you because you've learned how to stand steady within yourself. Visualize yourself barefoot on a smooth wooden floor, the air still, the space empty. Outside, life storms wildly, stress, conflict, expectations. But inside this room, you practice stillness. You breathe, you center, and slowly you discover that strength isn't loud, reactive, or forceful. It is quiet, it is grounded. It grows from the moments you spend meeting your mind with honesty rather than running from it. This is the inner training monks devote their lives to. And it begins with something as simple as being alone. Reflect on this. What emotional triggers lose their power when I'm alone? What inner muscles have I neglected to train? How could solitude make me more unshakable? Questions like these open the door to a stronger, wiser version of yourself. When you sit alone with your emotions, you begin to understand them instead of fearing them. Understanding dissolves suffering, and suffering dissolves into clarity. Every moment of solitude teaches you how to respond instead of react, how to calm your storms instead of amplifying them, how to choose peace over chaos. In a world where people are constantly shaken by every small disturbance, you become someone who stays grounded, self-aware, deeply anchored. That is emotional strength. The kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, approval, or perfect conditions. So let this truth settle into your heart. Time alone isn't a luxury, it's training. It's how you build the inner stability that makes you unshakable in a shaking world. And once you develop this strength, no storm outside can ever overpower the calm you cultivate within. 5. Stop seeking from others what only you can give. Why does external validation feel like oxygen yet never truly satisfy? You chase approval, praise, attention, hoping it will fill the emptiness inside. But each time the relief fades, the peace slips away, and the hunger returns. That's because the emptiness you feel is shaped like your own presence. No one else's words, love, or attention can fill a space that was designed for you. This is why time alone becomes the deepest form of self-love. It teaches you to give yourself what you've begged the world for. Imagine your heart as a cup. When you rely solely on others to fill it, you forget something important. There are holes at the bottom. Each hole is a place where you've abandoned yourself. Self-neglect, self-criticism, self-doubt, emotional dependence. So even when someone pours love into you, it leaks out. Without sealing those holes, nothing stays. In solitude, you finally see those hidden cracks. You stop blaming the world for not filling you and start realizing the real work is sealing what is broken within. Now, visualize this. You gently place warm golden wax over those holes. Each stroke represents a moment of self-worth, a boundary you honor, a truth you finally speak. As you seal these leaks with your own presence, you feel the cup grow stronger, whole, ready to hold joy without losing it. This is the power of solitude. No noise, no pressure, no roles to play. Just you repairing what only you can repair. Reflect softly. What do I expect others to give me that I haven't given myself? Where am I leaking energy? How would my life change if I validated myself first? These questions are invitations, gentle reminders that healing begins with returning to yourself. The more time you spend alone, the more you see that emotional fullness comes from within, not from the world's applause. In Buddhist wisdom, true freedom arrives when you stop outsourcing your peace, when you stop waiting to be chosen and choose yourself instead, when you stop chasing love and become the source of it. Solitude teaches this truth with quiet compassion. It shows you that your worth was never missing, only unheard beneath the noise of seeking. And once you learn to give yourself the attention, validation and love you've longed for, something extraordinary happens. The world no longer has the power to define you. You walk lighter, breathe deeper, and live with a calm confidence that no external praise could ever create. That is the gift of time alone. The moment you finally recognize that you were the missing piece all along. 6. Loneliness is a message, not a life sentence. What if loneliness isn't a punishment but an invitation? In the quiet corners of your life, when the world feels far away and your heart feels hollow, loneliness rises like a shadow you wish you could escape. But what if that shadow isn't there to frighten you? What if it's there to guide you? Loneliness appears when the heart is trying to return home. It is not a life sentence, it is a message. A gentle signal that something within you is longing to be seen, heard, and held by you. Think of loneliness as a lantern in the dark. Soft, steady, unexpected. It doesn't appear to remind you of emptiness. It appears to show you the way back to your inner world. In a society where constant connection has become the norm, the moments when you suddenly feel alone are moments the universe uses to whisper, "Come back to yourself." This is why solitude becomes sacred. In the stillness, the lantern glows brighter, illuminating the parts of you that have been ignored, abandoned, or misunderstood. Imagine yourself walking along a dim path at night. You're holding a lantern, and though the light doesn't show the entire journey, it reveals one step at a time. Loneliness works the same way. It doesn't hand you all the answers. It simply nudges you toward the next truth you need to face. And step by step, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself you left behind in the noise of life. This is the spiritual turning point where loneliness transforms into guidance and emptiness becomes a doorway to awakening. Pause for a moment and reflect. Where is loneliness trying to guide me? What part of myself is waiting to be reclaimed? What changes when I view loneliness as a message? These questions open the heart to a deeper understanding. Loneliness often shows up not because you are unloved, but because you have drifted away from your own presence. It arrives to remind you that the love you've been seeking outwardly is asking to rise inwardly. As you learn to sit with this message rather than run from it, you begin to grow softer, wiser, more grounded. Loneliness loses its sharpness and becomes a teacher. It reveals that your heart is not empty. It is awakening. It is asking you to return, to reconnect, to rebuild the bond with yourself that life may have worn thin. So, Let this truth take root within you. Loneliness is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your return. When you honor its message, you discover a deeper, steadier, more compassionate version of yourself. One that has been waiting quietly in the dark, lantern in hand, ready to guide you home. 7. Choose solitude. Don't fall into isolation. How do you know when alone time is healing you and when it's secretly hurting you? The answer lies in intention. Two people can sit in the same silence, but one is growing and the other is shrinking. Intention turns a cage into a sanctuary. This is the difference between solitude and isolation. One feeds your soul, the other drains it. One is chosen, the other is a collapse. And in 2026, when the world often feels overwhelming, learning this difference becomes essential for inner peace. Think of solitude as a garden and isolation as a desert. Both look empty from the outside, but only one grows life. Solitude is where you plant new seeds, clarity, peace, direction. Isolation is where you abandon the soil and let the weeds take over. Your mind knows the difference. Your heart feels it. Solitude expands you. Isolation tightens your chest. Solitude helps you return to yourself. Isolation makes you disappear from yourself. Visualize this softly. You kneel down in a quiet inner garden, warm soil beneath your hands. In the center, you plant a small seed. You cover it gently. You water it with silence and breath. As you sit there, you realize this seed is your intention. If you sit alone with the desire to understand, heal, and grow, your inner garden begins to thrive. But if you sit alone because you are running from people, from emotions, from truth, the soil dries, cracks, and the garden becomes a desert. Your presence, not your isolation, is what nourishes the seed. Reflect honestly. Am I withdrawing to heal or to hide? What intention am I bringing to my alone time? What can grow in the space I create? These questions reveal whether your solitude is a sanctuary or a cage. Many people fall into isolation because they fear pain, confrontation, or vulnerability. Yet solitude, when chosen consciously, gives you the strength to face these very things with compassion instead of fear. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true inner peace arises not from avoidance, but from mindful presence. When you enter solitude with awareness, you meet your emotions with calm curiosity. You soothe your inner storms rather than suppress them. You create space for clarity to bloom. In this way, solitude becomes not an escape, but a return to truth, to simplicity, to your own center. So let this gentle truth settle within you. Solitude is powerful when you choose it, when you shape it with intention, when you treat it as sacred ground where your soul can breathe. Isolation happens when you abandon yourself, but solitude happens when you finally come home. And in that home, the quiet, steady home within, you discover the deepest form of self-love you've ever known. 8. Distance reveals what presence hides. Why do people, habits, and attachments look completely different from afar? It's because distance reveals what presence hides. When you're too close to something, too involved, too emotional, too attached, you lose perspective. Patterns blur, truth softens, illusions strengthen. But the moment you step back, clarity begins to emerge. What clings to you loses its power when you step back. This is why solitude becomes a sacred act of self-love. It allows you to see what you could not see while standing inside the noise. Imagine standing inches from a giant painting. All you can see are confused strokes, colors merging, edges blurring, shapes that make no sense. But the moment you take a few steps back, the whole picture comes into view. Suddenly, what felt chaotic becomes meaningful. What felt overwhelming becomes understandable. Solitude gives you this distance. Time alone becomes the space where the unnecessary falls away and the essential rises. Visualize yourself slowly stepping backward from a canvas. With each step, another truth appears. A hidden detail, a pattern you never noticed, a flaw you once ignored, or maybe a beauty you had forgotten to appreciate. This is the gift of distance. It reveals the full shape of your relationships, your habits, your desires, your wounds. When you are too close, everything feels urgent, emotional, tangled. But in solitude, you see with new eyes, calmer eyes, wiser eyes. Ask yourself gently, what becomes clear when I step back from people or situations? What truth have I been too close to see? What drains me without my awareness? These questions loosen the grip of attachments. They help you notice which connections nourish you and which quietly exhaust you. They reveal the habits that build your peace and the ones that steal it. Buddhist wisdom teaches that stepping back is not abandonment, it is awareness. Distance is not withdrawal, it is clarity. When you take space from the world, you begin to recognize which emotions are truly yours and which you've absorbed from others. You see who respects your boundaries and who only respects their needs. You see what routines strengthen you and which ones keep you stuck. In the solitude of 2026, surrounded by constant noise, constant urgency, constant demands, stepping back becomes an act of liberation. It's how you reclaim your energy. It's how you protect your peace. It's how you rediscover your truth. And so, let this understanding settle softly within you. Distance is not cold, selfish, or cruel. It is a gift you give yourself. Because only when you step back can you see the whole picture. And only when you see the whole picture can you finally choose what truly deserves a place in your life. 9. Solitude removes illusions faster than time does. Why do your true priorities reveal themselves only when you're alone? Because solitude removes illusions faster than time ever could. Time may soften a wound, but silence exposes what noise protects. When you finally sit with yourself, no voices to influence you, no expectations to shape you, no roles to perform. The truth rises from beneath the surface, like something long forgotten but deeply familiar. Think of solitude as sunlight. Illusions, those beliefs you cling to, those stories you tell yourself, those fears you pretend not to have, cannot survive its warmth. They begin to melt the moment you stop running. They fade the moment you stop distracting yourself. Silence becomes a mirror, showing you exactly what has been weighing on your heart and exactly what has been guiding your choices without your awareness. Visualize holding a piece of ice in your palm. At first, it is solid, cold, unyielding, just like the illusions you've held onto for years. But as the warmth of your hand touches it, the ice begins to melt, slowly, softly. And as it melts, something is revealed beneath it, the raw emotion, the honest desire, the buried truth you were afraid to feel. This is what solitude does. It melts away what is false so what is real can rise. Ask yourself with compassion, what illusions am I still holding? What falls away when I sit in silence? What truth emerges when everything unnecessary melts? These questions are not meant to challenge you. They are meant to free you. Every illusion you drop makes you lighter. Every truth you face makes you stronger. Buddhist wisdom teaches that clarity is not discovered in movement, but in stillness. We keep living lives that are too loud. Too many opinions, too many expectations, too many pressures shaping who we think we should be. But in solitude, the masks fall, the pretenses dissolve, and what remains is the version of you untouched by the world's demands. In the year 2026, when distractions multiply and noise tries to bury your inner voice, choosing solitude becomes an act of deep self-love. It is how you reconnect with your priorities. It's how you hear the truth you've been avoiding. It's how you return to the center of your being. Let this understanding settle softly. Time may help you forget, but solitude helps you remember. And what you remember in silence is who you truly are. 10. Your inner world is the source of all happiness. What if joy doesn't enter your life, but arises from you? This question has echoed through centuries of Buddhist teaching, whispering the same timeless truth. Your inner world is the source of all happiness. The world may offer moments of comfort, distraction, or excitement, but the deepest peace comes not from what you receive, it comes from what you cultivate within. When you finally sit alone, without noise to lean on or people to chase, you discover that happiness has always been an inward movement, not an external reward. The old teaching says, "The mind is the well, peace is the water." If the well is neglected, the water grows muddy. If the well is tended with care, the water becomes clear, nourishing, alive. The modern world teaches you to chase fountains outside, but Buddhism gently shows that the clearest water flows from within. Each moment spent in solitude becomes a soft cleaning of the well, a clearing of distractions, a settling of doubts, a return to clarity. Picture a hidden spring beneath your chest, constantly overflowing with calm water. This spring has been with you since the beginning, yet in the rush of life, you forget to drink from it. You forget that peace is not given, it is uncovered. Visualize a gentle stream rising from your heart, warm and steady, filling your body from within. With every breath, the stream grows brighter. With every moment of silence, it flows more freely. This is your inner world, a place that never abandons you, even when everything else shifts. Ask yourself softly, what inner spring have I forgotten to drink from? How often do I generate happiness instead of chasing it? What happens when my joy becomes self-created? These questions help you see that peace is not a distant destination. It is a practice, a choice, a daily returning. In solitude, the truth becomes unmistakable. External happiness is temporary, but internal happiness is renewable. When your joy becomes self-created, you stop depending on situations to be perfect or people to be consistent. You stop waiting for life to align before you allow yourself to feel whole. As you step into the year 2026, let this understanding guide you gently. The world outside may inspire you, but it is the world within that heals you. When you nurture your inner spring, you carry peace everywhere you go. You become your own source of light, and the moment you realize that, your entire life begins to change. 11. Loving your own company makes you untouchable. What happens when you stop depending on others for peace? Something remarkable unfolds. A quiet strength begins to rise inside you, a strength untouched by moods, opinions, or the unpredictable movements of life. This is the gift of truly loving your own company. When solitude becomes a friend instead of a punishment, your heart no longer trembles at the thought of being alone. Instead, it softens, expands, and grows calm in ways you never expected. The old teaching says, no one can break a mind that shelters itself with love, and this is the secret many search for their entire lives. Peace becomes unbreakable only when it is built from within. When you stop outsourcing your emotional stability to others, you reclaim a power that belongs only to you. You no longer fear losing people because you stop losing yourself in the process of loving them. Imagine becoming like a mountain. Storms may strike, winds may roar, and the world may shift around you, yet you remain unmoved. Not rigid, not cold, but deeply rooted. A mountain does not fear the weather. It simply allows it to pass. When you love your own company, this becomes your way of being. Emotional storms lose their power. External chaos no longer invades your inner space. You stand firm, steady, quietly alive. Visualize yourself atop a mountain peak, the sky dark, the wind wild, yet your presence still and unwavering. Feel the strength in your breath, the calm in your chest. This is what happens when inner love becomes your shelter. The storms continue, but you remain untouched. Now ask yourself gently, whose emotional power am I reclaiming? How can I love myself more fiercely? What storms no longer shape me? These questions open the door to a new way of living, one where your inner world is no longer shaped by circumstance, but by choice. Loving your own company is not about isolating yourself from life. It is about standing firmly in it without losing your center. It is about walking into 2026 with a heart that is full, stable, and whole. When you become your own home, you become untouchable. Not because life stops challenging you, but because your peace stops depending on anything outside you. Bonus lesson. When you master solitude, you master life. What if the key to every relationship, every dream, every quiet victory in your life begins in the time you spend alone? It's a question the world rarely asks, yet the answer has shaped the lives of monks, sages, and all those who walk with inner peace. When you sit with yourself without running, without distracting, without seeking anything outside you, something powerful begins to form, a foundation the world cannot take away. The old teaching says, everything external breaks without a strong internal foundation, and solitude is that foundation. It is the silent architect of your emotional strength, your clarity, your purpose. Think of your life as a temple. Every connection, every goal, every piece of joy is a pillar, but a pillar means nothing without the stone beneath it. Solitude is that stone. It is the place where you understand who you are before the world tells you who to become. Imagine placing the first stone of your inner temple with purpose. Feel its weight, its steadiness, its certainty. This stone is your time alone. The moments when you listen deeply, when you heal, when you realign. Without it, everything built above becomes unstable, but with it, your life becomes steady. Time alone is not empty. It is the workshop where your strongest self is shaped. In solitude, you learn how to speak kindly to yourself, how to hold your mind with compassion, how to hear the quiet truth beneath every fear. You learn how to walk without clinging, how to love without losing yourself, how to move without being pushed by the world. This is why mastering solitude is not about escaping life. It is about preparing for it with clarity and inner strength. Close your eyes for a moment and picture that temple being built stone by stone. Each breath becomes a base. Each quiet moment becomes a wall of strength. Each act of self-understanding becomes a pillar that can hold the weight of your whole life. Now ask yourself gently, what part of my life becomes stronger when I'm alone? What foundation am I creating in this season of solitude? How will mastering solitude change everything? Let these questions guide you deeper into yourself. Because in the year ahead, when the noise rises and the world feels unsure, you will return to the truth. When you master solitude, you master life. Every strength starts within, every peace starts within, and everything you seek grows from the time you choose to sit alone with your own soul. Quick summary of the principles. The silence you fear is the teacher you need. Silence feels uncomfortable because it makes you face the thoughts you've avoided for years. Instead of running from it, learn to sit with it. This is where emotional healing begins. When you stop resisting silence, clarity rises naturally. Solitude becomes a safe space the moment you stop fighting it. Your true self speaks only in open space. Your real voice is often buried under noise, expectations, and constant distraction. Solitude gives you the rare chance to connect with who you truly are. When everything outside calms down, your inner guidance finally becomes clear. This is the space where authenticity begins, where there is no crowd, there is no confusion. Much of your confusion comes from taking in other people's thoughts, moods, and expectations. Time alone shows you what you truly want, not what others want from you. Solitude removes outside interference and brings back mental clarity. Decisions become easier when your mind returns to its natural state. Solitude is the training ground for emotional strength. Being alone teaches you how to manage your emotions instead of relying on others. It builds resilience, inner calm, and mental stability. It strengthens your ability to stay firm during emotional storms. The more comfortable you are alone, the stronger you become. Stop seeking from others what only you can give. You weaken yourself when you rely on others to fill emotional gaps. Real self-love begins when you take responsibility for your own inner needs. Solitude helps you notice and heal these inner emptinesses. Only you can give yourself the validation you keep searching for. Loneliness is a message, not a life sentence. Loneliness isn't a punishment. It's a sign you've lost connection with yourself. Instead of fearing it, listen to what it's trying to show you. It often appears during moments of change and inner growth. Treat it as guidance, not a permanent state. Choose solitude. Don't fall into isolation. Solitude heals when it is intentional. Isolation harms when it is unconscious. Awareness is what separates the two. Choose time alone as an act of self-love, not as avoidance. Let solitude be meaningful, nourishing, and empowering. Distance reveals what presence hides. Stepping away from people and situations shows you truths you couldn't see up close. Attachments, energy drains, and emotional patterns become clearer. Distance brings emotional objectivity and insight. Sometimes stepping back is the only way to see reality. Solitude removes illusions faster than time does. Quiet moments expose distractions, illusions, and false attachments. Solitude makes you face what truly matters and what doesn't. It simplifies your priorities and reveals deeper truths. This inner cleansing speeds up emotional growth. Your inner world is the source of all happiness. External sources of joy fade quickly. Internal ones last. Solitude reconnects you with the calm and contentment already within you. Happiness becomes self-created rather than dependent on circumstances. This shift changes your whole emotional life. Loving your own company makes you unshakable. When you enjoy being alone, no one can disturb your peace. You stop needing approval, validation, or constant reassurance. Your emotional foundation becomes steady. You become grounded, confident, and deeply centered. When you master solitude, you master life. Solitude is the base for emotional strength, clarity, and self-awareness. Every relationship improves when you first understand yourself. Your goals become clearer, your actions more intentional. Mastering solitude is mastering your whole inner world. Solitude is not emptiness. It is a return to your original home. When you sit with yourself long enough, the noise fades, and a quiet strength rises from within. In this stillness, you discover something powerful. You were never lacking, never broken, never behind. You were simply disconnected from your own depth. As a timeless teaching says, to know the world, know yourself first. When you give yourself time alone, you give yourself back everything you once lost. Clarity, peace, courage, and self-love. So tonight, slow down. Sit with yourself like you would sit with someone you love. Let the world fade for a moment. Breathe deeper. Feel your presence. Allow the mind to soften. Zen philosophy reminds us, nothing is missing when you return to the present. Take this truth with you as you step into the rest of your life. You are enough, You are whole, and you are never truly alone when you learn to enjoy your own company. Like and share this video, share your thoughts in the comment box, and subscribe to Buddha's Eternal Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life.